Hey guys, welcome back to Lumbridge Lounge. I'm Carter and I'm here with the Baron 72.
What's up, guys?
And we're here to show you guys the Vorkath guide for all of you who want to get into the Money Dragon. Right after you defeat Dragon Slayer 2, let's get right into it.
Yeah, for real. Let's get into it. The first thing that you need to know is the basic stats requirements. Basically, what you have for Dragon Slayer 2 will be good enough, but we would recommend having a little higher stats, maybe base 80s. And if you're going to do range or melee, you should have 85 in either ranged if you're going to do that method, or in melee, you should have 85 strength just to increase that DPS. The reason why we recommend these higher stats is because Vorkath is a little harder than when you did it in the quest. He's a little nerfed when you're doing the quest for Dragon Slayer 2. So having a little higher combat stats will help out immensely. Now for quest requirements and to basically jump into gear after this, you of course need to have Dragon Slayer 2 done or you can't do this method. So get that done. And then the other main quest that you need to get done is the Haunted Mine. This unlocks the Lair of Tarn Razalor mini quest, and this allows you to get your Salve Amulet enchanted so that you can kill Vorkath much more efficiently. Then after you have it enchanted, make sure to go over and imbue it at the Nightmare Zone just to increase that DPS.
So moving on to the gear setups of Vorkath, the first one is melee. For this setup, you want to have the best melee armor you have. For this, I'm using Bandos. You want to use that Salve Amulet, which we mentioned earlier. Your best cape, in this I have the Fire Cape. I'm using the Rada's Blessing for some extra prayer. I'm also using a Defender. I'm not using any Dragon Fire Shield for this method. I'm using a Berserker Ring, Primordial Boots, and my Ferocious Gloves. And you could substitute any of this for anything lower that you can't afford. For the Primordial Boots, obviously you can use Dragon Boots, Dragon Defender, whatever you have, it'll work. It just won't be as efficient. I recommend having a Serp Helm for this method because he will poison you during this fight, and if you have this Serp Helm equipped, you will not have to deal with drinking any anti-venom potions or anything like that, so it's just less clicks and less things for you to worry about. For your inventory setup, you want to have a Slayer Staff, a Super Combat Potion, the Extended Super Anti-Fire. I bring 3 Prayer Potions with me. I have a Bandos God Sword, some House Teleports, I have my Sea Boots, which we can talk about later, and my Rune Pouch, which gives me the Crumble Undead spell, which is very essential. For one of Vorkath's special attacks, you need to have the Crumble Undead spell with you. It's easier to have it in your Rune Pouch, but to make it even easier, you need to bring a Slayer Staff with you. And all you gotta do during that special attack is just equip it and then click on the little minion he spawns. But before you even start the fight, you need to make sure that you link your spell to the staff. So you just need to equip the staff, go to your combat options, and then select the Crumble Undead spell. That way it is already on there, and so by the time you need it, you just gotta click on the staff to equip it and you're ready to go.
Now with the melee combat gear setup done, we're going to jump into the range gear setup. But before we do that, we want to talk about the 2 different ways to get to Vorkath. The first is the Frenetic Boots, to be able to just teleport there. If you get the Elite Diary done, you have unlimited teleports just right outside of Torfin to go to Vorkath. But if you don't have that diary done, such as I just built a Lunar Isle portal to just teleport to the Lunar Isle and get straight to Relica by talking to the wrong banker. That way I can just go straight there. It takes a few more seconds. It is a little bit of time sink, but that's all good. Now that we're here, let's talk about the range setup. The main thing that you're going to see that's way different is that I have Void on. To do this, you have to go through Pest Control. We're not going to talk about Pest Control all the way through, but you need to get your full Void. Elite Void would be even better, but I don't have that right now, so yeah. After that, you need to have your best in slot crossbow, the Dragon Hunter crossbow being the best, of course. You can do this with like a Dragon crossbow or a Rune crossbow, but efficiency will go down, especially with everything else too. You can switch out like the Picasian boots, which you need here too, with something like God D'hide. Just efficiency, like, you know. You also need the Dragonfire Ward. This will help block some of those fire attacks that Vorkath has. An Imbued Archer's Ring would be very good. That Salve Amulet we talked about before. And whatever Avas you have. I have the Ava's Assembler because I've gotten a Vorkath head in the past. But any other Avas would be fine too. The type of bolts that you're going to want are Dragon Bolts, Ruby Dragon Bolts E, and Diamond Dragon Bolts E. The inventory setup is basically the same. The only main difference is that we have a anti-venom plus because of those poison attacks. We don't have the Serp Helm like the melee method, so we need to have that anti-venom. Other than that, everything's basically the same. You do need those Diamond Dragon Bolts E in your inventory so you can switch them out later. Oh, and one other thing is instead of a super combat like I have here, you need a ranging pot. So I'll be right back. Now that we've gotten through our gear setups, let's go through Vorkath's attacks before we show you a couple kills. He has 6 normal attacks and 2 special attacks. Here I'm going to go over the 6 normal attacks. The first is his ranged attack. This is usually like a gray spiky ball. You'll be able to see it very obviously on the game. The next is a Dragon Fire attack, which we see all throughout RuneScape. The next is a Venom Dragonfire attack, which looks very similar to the Dragonfire, but instead of orange, it's green. This is why we need our Serp Helm or Anti-Venom, because without it, we'll get very highly Venom. The next is a pink Dragonfire attack, which does the exact same thing as a Dragonfire attack, and it turns off your prayer, so you need to make sure to go turn your prayer back on. The last two look very similar together as well. The first is a blue magic attack. It's a blue kind of orb fireball that gets shot at you, and it's a basic magic attack. It doesn't have the same stats and things like the Dragonfire attack, so your Dragonfire potions and your ward isn't going to help quite as much with this attack. And then you have the deadly Dragonfire attack, which is another orange orb that Vorkath shoots in the air, and you have to dodge it. You have to be at least 2 tiles away to be able to not get any damage. If you don't dodge it, it's very, very high damage, and it could be very deadly, hitting around the 60s, 70s, and sometimes 80s.
Moving on to Vorkath's special attacks, he has 2 of them. The first one is the Acid Pool attack. This is where he spits acid all over the arena, and you need to make sure that it is always dodged, as well as constantly moving around to avoid the projectiles that are also coming out of Vorkath's mouth. The second special attack is the Zombified Ice Dragonfire attack, and this is where Vorkath will freeze the player while a zombified spawn is summoned, which needs to be killed immediately. Otherwise, if you don't use Crumble Undead on it, it could hit up to a 60 on you. Alright, let's move on to an actual kill now. So first, after you drink your potions, you want to spec him with your defense lowering weapon and begin attacking him. As you see there's that pink attack. I gotta just enable my prayer again. There's the Venom Fire. I just have to wear my Serp Helm to negate any poison. There's his acid phase. As you can see, I just started moving even before the acid came out. You want to try to find a straight line and just don't panic. Don't try to zigzag all over the place. Just find a straight line and click back and forth. Make sure you click before your character goes to the tile you clicked on, and go back to your first area. You can lower or you can turn off your prayer during that phase if you're comfortable, but if you're learning, I suggest just keeping it on. There's the prayer attack again. Just put your prayer back on. It helps to have your quick prayers enabled. And here's a second special attack. You just want to switch to your Slayer Staff and click on it. And make sure your Crumble Undead spell is on. And then go back to... Oh, and then you want to dodge that fireball as well.
So now we're doing the ranged method. You just saw the melee method. One big key point that we need here is to pray range when you're doing the range method. Drink your super anti-poison before. And make sure you're praying mage when you're doing the melee method. Another big thing is when that big fireball comes up, you need to make sure to get 2 spaces away. Here's one of the special attacks just to see again. Get your Slayer Staff out and click on that little bug you see. And just start attacking again. After that bug's dead, just keep attacking, keep doing damage. Dodge when you need to, but always be doing damage. Because the more times you're attacking him, the faster the kill will go, the more resources you'll save. Sometimes he'll do that fireball attack over and over again. Again, you see I don't have the longest straight line there, but I moved 1 step back and just had adjusted to be able to make a better line for me to walk back and forth. And that's the big key, is make sure you're walking, because if you don't walk, you take a lot of damage. and go straight back into doing damage. Attack, attack, attack. There's that blue attack. That blue attack is the only one that'll do a lot of damage. And there's a kill. And if you get really lucky, you might be like me and get the Vorkath pet.
Woo! Just some general tips for Vorkath before we wrap up. You want to make sure you drink your potions at the beginning of the fight and keep an eye on them so that you don't run out of the timer in the middle of the fight. You want to utilize your prayers the entire fight. Make sure you use range for range and protect from mage for melee. And then also utilize your piety and rigor as much as you can. And if you don't have rigor, you can use Eagle Eye and it still is effective. You want to stay 2 steps away from the fireball. Just click two tiles away. You don't want to run away and freak out and panic. Just take 2 steps and run back to where you were. And then definitely use your Slayer Staff. Try not to switch to your spell book, click on the spell, and click on the minion. It just takes too many clicks, and it'll definitely mess you up when you're learning. You really want to learn the special attacks. Try not to panic during the special attacks. I honestly and personally like the acid phase because it makes me get my bearings straight, makes me able to heal, and I can save some prayer during that, and it's just really nice. And once you get those special attacks down, the boss just becomes super easy. It just becomes no problem at all, and you can make lots of money. Some other tips is you can get the Sea Boots 4 through the achievement diaries, and that just helps you get free teleports right back to Vorkath. You can get a lot more kills without having to get all the way there through Lunar Isle or other methods. And another tip is you can hold control on your keyboard to run. And if you find out that you're not running right away, just double click and you'll end up running if you're in the walk mode.
With that being said, guys, thanks for watching. If you didn't know, we have a podcast up on the channel too. Go check that out. Again, thanks and deuces.